All right. Hi, everybody. And hey, Jaden, remotely. I think as one of the few people here, I think that's both been through Web 2 and Web 3, I guess a number of us have, we thought this would be a really interesting opportunity to just think through how Web 3 informs sort of incentives, gives new opportunities to think about economics, and really, I think, supercharge communities. And so I think with that, maybe just kick off. If you guys could all just do a brief intro and tell everyone what you've been working on, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, for sure. I can start. I'm Facundo Diaz, co-founder of TravelX. What we are doing at TravelX is, first of all, we are in the travel industry. Travel industry is probably one of the most beautiful industries in the world, but full of friction. We all know how painful it is to deal with airlines, ticketing, and all those stuffs. And with my partners, we saw the opportunity to take advantage of blockchain as a technology to help the industry evolve to Web3. Basically, what we are doing is we created an infrastructure that allowed the airlines to tokenize inventory. When I'm talking about inventory, I'm talking about flight tickets. So they can tokenize those tickets, and once the tickets are tokenized, the airlines could open more distribution channels. They reduce distribution costs. And the most important thing is that they are creating a better product for the clients, the travelers. The interesting thing about this is, as a travelers, through NFT tickets, we bought the asset smart contract, the NFT as an NFT ticket. As a travelers, we will be able to freely manage our travel assets, something that we cannot do today. Having an NFT ticket, I will be able to just transfer it, resell it, change the name. So we are bringing freedom for the travelers, a better distribution and product for the airlines, and that's our goal, to help the industry evolve to Web3. We are not trying to bring, I don't know, we could have around 500 million crypto users. We are not just trying to bring those 500 million users to travel, but bring in 5 billion travelers to Web3. So that's our goal, and it's going well.
Awesome. Krishna.
Yeah, we are building the knowledge stack for the employees of tomorrow. So the basic way I describe the amazing sessions that have been going for the last 24 hours here, and if somebody has to go back and say, what was that, what did Steve speak, what did Stacy speak, they have to listen to the entire session. So what we enable is you upload the content, what went through, and people can say, put a keyword, and it pulls back that particular information. So we are changing the way people acquire, organize, and share information by summarizing vast amounts of data in seconds. So because all of us have been using the same approach for the past 2 decades in acquiring knowledge. We go to Google, we say this is what we want, and we are all knowledge workers. So we spend, I don't know, some of us 2 hours, 4 hours. I've been speaking to guys 6 hours a day, researching about information. So we unlock that time. So we said that you don't have to spend 6 hours, and we are freeing people of that particular time. And Web3, we are early days. We are exploring. Not everything that's there in Web2 have to move lock, stock, barrel to Web3. So there will be elements that we see that fits in very well natively with Web3, like proof of knowledge. Hey, somebody has done a great job. Today, we go and do congratulations, fantastic job on LinkedIn or a Twitter. But that's not part of that individual's personal trophy cabinet. It's part of Twitter or LinkedIn. How can he show tomorrow that I have learned, I have executed this? So I think that's where we are thinking that Web3 fits in very well. And in education, some of our customers in education, insurance, retail, I think it marries very well. Some components, because Web2 gives natively speed, and Web3 gives behavioral data. So who's doing what, when, and those pieces. Yeah, that's what we do.
Cool. So, morning, everyone. I'm the CEO of Napster. Show of hands, who has ever downloaded anything on Napster in the past? Making sure you're all awake. All right. So this T-shirt's actually 21 years old. So I worked on Napster 20-plus years ago. We lent them $50 million and took $1 billion offer to the music industry to try and legitimize OG Napster. I had a German boss, which is a story for drinks. We didn't quite get there. But the whole notion of decentralization and Web3, Napster was kind of like a Web3 brand before Web3 was a glint in anyone's eyes. So we were already decentralized. It was kind of empowering the community. And to Christian's point about data, it was like data was super important, and it wasn't meant to be controlled. So I took a bit of a hiatus. I was recently at Roblox, and now we're taking Napster in its current incarnation, which is a Web2 streaming service similar to Spotify, and we're starting to integrate Web3 features in it. So all about, again, control of data and the whole notion of tickets. You talk about friction in the travel industry, friction in the music industry is, as he knows as well, is crazy when you have all those individual songs also fractionalized and ownership, very complicated on the back end. So a lot of the innovations that we wanted to do before, it feels like the innovation in the last 20 years has been frozen. So we're kind of picking up all these notions of rewarding fans and putting the fans and the artists at the center of experience, and not having kind of control by a platform. So empowering fans and artists to connect, which we think will unlock new creative and commercial opportunities for the music industry, and also elevate fans to the level of artists where they can also be creators and have all those works controlled on the blockchain.
All right. And Jaden.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Awesome. All right. Greetings, everyone. I am Jaden Sage. I am the CEO and founder of Global Crypto Council, GCC for short. And we've been advising governments and startups in this space, in the blockchain space, now going on almost 12 years. So, the space has morphed and changed over the years. And what excites us the most is the play-to-earn concept. Because now that we have Web3, Web3 facilitates the ledger capacity applied to what we call NFT, but titling of these assets, digital assets, facilitates a new form of an economy. And that economy will allow play to earn, which will allow people in the developing world to augment their income and be able to make more of their money from some of these endeavors. So empowering the developing world and people within it is a place we've never actually been at, because we've been caught in a world of charitable endeavors rather than financial empowerment. And that's what excites us in Web3. We invest in companies within that space as well and advise them for them to optimize for that effort.
That's great. Thanks, Jaden. I think one of the things, you mentioned, Facundo, was really about friction. And I think if you think about whether it's a plane ticket or other things, I think there's maybe a sort of deeper issue, which is, I think there are a lot of products where you don't really ever identify like the true economic value because they can't easily be traded. And so, maybe just how you think about that, and also how you think about what an unlock, the kind of work that you're doing, could be.
Yeah, of course. Something that blockchain allow us is to eliminate friction. We are taking advantage for that, and also it's an amazing way for asset to be managed and the value to be associated with those assets. But it is important that traditional industries like the travel industry find a way to link the traditional processes with blockchain or the opportunities that Web3 could bring. I love to bring always one example related to the travel industry. Just an example on how new technologies could help industry to really evolve. Just to give you an example, in 1990, the industry has 1.2 billion travelers, and the market size was 200 billions. Thanks to the internet adoption between 1990 and 2070, the industry grew 2 times. It brought like 4.2 billion travelers, and the market size increased to 500 billion. And in 2008, IATA, which is the biggest airline association, set the e-ticket as a standard. So every airline should incorporate in their technology or distribution channels the e-ticket as a standard. And with the smartphone adoption, the industry duplicated again during those years. We are trying to bring and show the travel industry that the NFT tickets, the ASA, Algorand, ASA, smart contract we are creating for the travel industry could help them evolve dramatically to Web3. And when I'm talking about Web3, it's about incorporating all the benefits of Web3. The industry could win because they will be more efficient distributing the inventory. The passengers will have the freedom to freely manage their travel assets. Right now, a flight ticket is not an asset. It's a service. You have your ticket, but you cannot decide if you want to sell it or trade it or action it. Having or using our technology, the industry can really evolve to Web3 in a win-win situation, aligning interest, because it is crazy, but passengers used to hate the airlines. And the airlines are not bad guys. They just evolve on a legacy system. They really want to bring better products for the travelers, especially after the impact they had based on because of the pandemic. So that's the beauty of Web3. It could help to align interests, eliminate frictions, and bring better product for users, bring us the freedom or the possibility to really own our assets, and for a whole industry to really evolve. So definitely, it's a great opportunity.
Well, and I think the point about an asset is an interesting one. And maybe, John, I think if you think about artists and fans and kind of the economic value of community, maybe just think about that a little bit. I think it's in a way, similar to some of the work that TravelX is doing.
Yeah. No, I was thinking one idea, like people hate middle seats. You can reward people for taking middle seats and get credits that you can earn against your NFT tickets. So yeah, and I think you were talking about rewards, Jaden talking about rewards. So I think the community of music fans, so what we had, again, with the original Napster, if you remember, there was chat, and there was a community. So the one big thing that was stripped out of digital media broadly, so you think of Netflix's and Spotify's, et cetera, there's no community. So it's a very individual consumption medium. So you have 2 different levers that are different. One is length of the format, and one is business model, which is free or paid. That's it. So in the last 20 years, community has been stripped out. So when you start inserting community again into the experience, so the big innovation for Napster, partly I think for you guys, if you bring not only the digitization of the asset, but the community of travelers and action that community where, if you're, again, you want to take this seat, you get a reward, and if you fly a lot, or sort of the reward notions that you're earning can be valuable. So if you're a good traveler, or in the music example, if you're a good curator, I love making playlists, and if I go on a Spotify making playlists, I'm kind of working for the man, but I'm not getting any benefit back. So I think once that community can be rewarded, you can start to have communities around the world that are professional, maybe jobs of just making playlists, and those playlists are valuable that they can earn, rewards for. And I think the notion again of the community in terms of discovery and sharing of music, empowering the community there is very powerful. So I think a lot of the things we're looking at from a Napster perspective, we saw action out in the metaverse. So I was at Roblox before, and if you think about Roblox as a L1 focused on gaming, even though obviously it wasn't, we had 1 million developers developing on the platform. And to Jaden's point, it was a lot of it in the developing world and international, and the whole notion of a lot of the developers were young, so they're underage, they couldn't have bank accounts anyway, and they were using Robux, which is effectively our token. Again, all that it wasn't on chain. They were paying each other, rewarding each other, and not cashing out of the ecosystem. It was effectively a stable coin. And then it was so consumerized that you could get it at your local convenience store in the States like Walgreens or Boots, and a generation preferred it to cash. So people, if you ever offered Roblox gift cards for nieces and nephews and kids. So I think the ambition that we see for creators, and starting with music, if you have that similar ecosystem with the Napster, a Napster token where everyone can be rewarded, both fans and artists, and fans are collaborating with other fans, artists are collaborating with other artists, artists and fans, it creates this whole next generation of unlock. And the format, so again, everything for the last 40 years has been around a single format, and even TikTok is short form free. So we're not competing in the format game, we're partnering with the artists at the center of the experience, and whatever they want to create, whether it's digital services, products, it could be token-gated experiences, meet and greets, whatever they want to do to express themselves, to connect with their fans, we'll be their partner in doing that, unlocking all that new commercial opportunity and creative opportunity.
That's great. And Jaden, you were talking about empowering communities and incentives. Maybe I think it's a little bit of a different perspective, but maybe share some of how you think about doing that in the developing world. Oh, Jaden, I think you're muted. Yeah, there we go.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we focus in on the developing world. However, there's large portions of the developed world that can also utilize these services as well. So if you think of, let's take a use case. Forever, we've been accustomed to the concept of a starving artist. What does that actually mean? A starving artist is somebody who suffered for their art while we benefited from that same art. Now, with the concept of modality and the ledger concept, which facilitates ownership tracing, we will actually remove the word starving from the term starving artist. Think about how empowering that is, because now the artists are free to exercise their right to be able to provide a livelihood during their life rather than afterwards. So this is a new territory, a new world that we're coming into. And these concepts, this use case of a starving artist applies to many, many other fields. Let's not even go into the trillion-dollar market called the fractionalization of real estate. So whether you're a big company and you own real estate and you want to fractionalize, or a restaurant and you want to fractionalize, or you're an artist, or somebody who just makes digital prints, no matter what scale you're at, you stand to benefit. Now, why the developing world benefit more is because, like the previous example of Roblox, when somebody in the US playing Fortnite, Roblox, World of Warcraft, makes an additional couple of $100, it doesn't mean much. But in the developing world, that same couple of $100 can be an augmented income for the father that has to raise a family, or a single mother that has to raise a family. That can make a big difference. And the better they get with their creativity and their art, the more money they can make from it locally. We will effectively start taking out the concept of immigration. People will be able to make money right from where they are. So these are grander concepts that will come online as we expand further and further into Web3.
I think just picking up on that, I mean, you pretty much did the pitch for Napster. I mean, it's, that I think the notion of because it's been kind of personified now. Usually, the whole notion, even at dinner parties, people know that artists aren't making money unless they're the big artists on Spotify and streaming platforms. They're not making enough to survive against the number of fans that they have, and usually they could make money from touring. But now, unfortunately, during Brexit and the war and inflation, tours can also be loss-making. So it's a huge kind of tipping point where not only is Web3 ready, kind of the artists are ready and very motivated, but that notion, Jaden, that you mentioned around, eliminating starving from artists, that I love. We have the same notion, at least with music artists and then other creators, and we did definitely find that on Roblox, where again, now if you have the music example, if I'm an artist in the Philippines and music artist, and I have a rapper friend in Nigeria or whatever, and we're all collaborating, I think through blockchain, you're actually able to earn money from whatever you happen to be doing. If you're a contributor to the ecosystem of assets, so you're contributing beats or songs, or maybe you're the guy who makes the animated videos or the art, so whatever it happens to be, you're a contributor. And we again found at Roblox that people, again, in developing markets were making not even hundreds, but thousands of dollars, which were material, and people were supporting, 15-year-olds were supporting their whole family, with the income that they were making from this two-sided economy. So I think digitizing the assets, allowing people to access them who are, international and unbanked is an ambition of mine, and to free up that, creativity and have the economic effect be, again, distributed and not centralized.
Well, I think a knock-on to that is, kind of information and learning. I think for a lot of people, there's earning opportunities, but also they need to sort of be educated and get access to, to the information they need. So.
Absolutely. I think I want to touch upon friction a bit. So I think Web3 directly, when our users use, there is a friction from a behavior standpoint, and that's a good friction because all of us talk friction only from technology. But when we're dealing with knowledge workers, they want to be rewarded for themselves and say, hey, I'm a knowledge worker. How am I getting rewarded? And all of us are here knowledge seekers, right? So how do we make sure they have attended this event? How can this become part of their trophy cabinet? Algorand is sending an NFT, great, but how can the organization that they're representing also benefits from it? Hey, I'm a great place to work, and I've sent 4 employees here, and they have learned, and I have 4 people who understand Algorand 101 because they have attended two days worth of sessions, right? So most of the questions that I have to deal with internally and when I'm talking here is technology. Yeah, that's one friction, but behavioral friction, right, which is very, very important, and maybe that friction is good. And today, a lot of the systems in Web 2 are unidirectional, which means I can say hello and I can reward somebody, but they cannot have a chat like how Fagundo is doing for airline industry, where the passenger or the traveler now can interact with other travelers and say, here is a ticket, and he's going to match there. Now the flight ticket is available, and I'm going to give it to an Argentinian for $600, right? So that unidirectionality, Web3 nicely solves by bringing bidirectional. So I can now have that trophy, I mean, my rewards, my certificates, what I've learned as part of my own cabinet, personal trophy cabinet. I think that's what I feel, Web3 from a knowledge worker's perspective.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with travel. So I think also, like, if I'm buying the ticket, your ticket to, like, Argentina, and you happen to be Argentinian, which I presume you are due to your outfit, then if you could package with it as the seller the amazing curated tour of Buenos Aires or where you should go, and then I pay extra to you in addition to the cost of the ticket, I think that's the notion of, like, people's knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And having a value to that can be traded, and that because I had a company before around, like, travel itineraries, so I'm obsessed with the value that people put into itineraries that are wasted and in spreadsheets. So I think it's fascinating. It's not just the asset, but it comes, so it's not just the music, but it's like the curation of the playlist with the music, or it's all the little micro aspects of travel you break down, or of music, or of knowledge, which I think is fascinating. And it's that interest graph where that's all been taken by the platforms. So the whole notion, again, of like Web 2 to Web 3, you know, I'm very active, I'm still a little older, but I'm very active on Facebook. And you think all the time, it's like as you're doing we went riding camels the other day, and I'm working for the platform, and I have my contributions. I don't get rewarded.
Yep.
So I have an investment in a company in the UK called Generate, which is a browser where, again, it gives the value back to the community of participating in browsing, as opposed you get rewarded for your action. So I'm just thinking the whole time it's unfair. We need to be rewarded as participants, and I think, again, Web3 unlocks this. It's going to be very exciting to see how it's rolled out.
And I think that's a great point. I mean, the new use cases, Web3, or all of us, we can create together because we really need to break even ourselves the Web2 paradigm in which one company puts all the rules and decide what we can do, what we can see or not. And I think that's a great opportunity, and we need to think and even change our mind and think in community ways, in how we could maybe connect to the NFT some playlist. I mean, and users will be able to trade a ticket, a flight ticket, as an NFT ticket with the playlist, with a playlist. I don't know. I mean, those are the kind of opportunities we have. Being on Algorand, and I think we really need to think on how we can take advantage of the community. In our case, our idea is to open our infrastructure, to let developers evolve, to really connect with other projects, because that's the way. I mean, right now.
Well, and I think in a way, if you look at like Web 2, you know, the old Web 2 or even Web 1, you know, when networks were opened, you know, that really shifted. You know, even before the web, there was like America Online and CompuServe and bulletin boards that were all closed systems. And I think now the idea that you can commingle assets and create new products that don't exist, I think that's an interesting
and even unlocking, like before, having the asset of a ticket, one of the biggest problems in travel is knowing where to go, right? So a large amount of the people go, I have time, I have money, and they get overwhelmed because now you can travel anywhere, and they end up not going anywhere. So I think, again, the itineraries could be at the beginning of the process where everyone's trading all the best itineraries, and then from that unlocks the market for the tickets. So yeah, I think that everything has been missing. I think the notion of people have been locked within the communities where we've been harvested, our time has been harvested for advertising. So I think now to change that as a reward where our time is being valued and our contributions, but we're kind of rewarded back again. So again, if I'm an amazing curator and playlister on Napster, I get rewarded. And the other thing I think is the live industry. So if you go and see I saw a hard rock band in London a few weeks ago in a downstairs sweaty club in Camden, and that's like the super fans who are there. Everyone's like sweating and dancing, and you paid your money for the ticket, and you leave with nothing.
Yep.
So the whole notion that, again, the live industry has been separate from, you know, the streaming industry, so why can't you get a reward on Napster for being there and like see the other community of people who are there that you can connect with? You're clearly going to maybe see more shows or connect with them and discover. So I think it's all these obvious things where it's been centered on maybe outdated business models, and now if you center it around the traveler, the fan, you know, the artist, it changes everything, or the knowledge worker, and you build it the other way around.
So one thing that I think, you know, I think these ideas also are sort of predicated on better user experiences in Web3 and making this really simple for consumers. And I think that's something that, you know, I hear a lot is a friction point for people. You know, what are you guys' thoughts on, you know, what exposure to kind of the underlying Web3 elements versus making it very simple? Also, there's I think a natural tension in the system where there's a lot of power in decentralization, but it also makes some of the onboarding and user experience elements that, you know, really the Web2 world has spent the past, you know, couple of decades working on difficult. So I'm just interested in your guys' thoughts on that.
We all know that there is some friction when a new user is onboarding on blockchain project. In our case, we are trying to eliminate that friction. We want to make it easy for everybody to access to their ticket and manage their ticket. And we are working on that. I mean, probably that's the biggest challenge on how to onboard new people. You know, you have to create your wallet, you have to found your wallet, you have to start trade your assets in a new way. But you know, it is evolving, and I'm sure that everything is getting better and simpler for the users. And after that first point of friction, I think the opportunities are endless, and I love to think that the best use cases that we can create or generate are the ones that we can even think about, because
Yep.
Once the users are on board and start using their wallets and manage their assets, and they know that they have the freedom but also the responsibility to manage their wallet, their assets, they understand that they can do different things, new things from the users, and also when the projects are connected with an ecosystem that can create solutions on top of those projects. I think that's the most interesting part of this. So there is some friction, but we have to work on that. We have to make it easy for the users, but besides that, the opportunities are endless once the users understand that they have the power to do and manage their assets and what they
So the
want to
way
do.
we are tackling is we are putting the Web3 component at the back, and because we are dealing with knowledge workers, and they're very demanding, and they know that, hey, don't underestimate my intelligence. I know what I want. So we are leaving as much as possible the Web2 experience from the UX perspective, and making subtle differences to navigate them, educate, because what we realized when we were developing is in Web3, one has to opt in even to receive. I just can't push things, the other person. So that's a friction point that requires education. Hey, why am I asked to do this? As simple as that. All right. So we are using all the back-end work right now as Web3, and at this juncture, leveraging the Web2 components for the front end. And along this journey, what we realize is some of our learnings, how can we give it back to the ecosystem? So we are developing templates for proof of knowledge learning, so people do not have to go back and reinvent the wheel. So almost like a low-code, no-code platform, they could use it. So that's our way of giving back to the ecosystem, so they can build on top of it. We can learn. Today, we may not have all the answers, and we would love to learn. So when we contribute, we expect, because like you said, it's like an open source, so we expect the community to come back, give feedback. Hey, by the way, this is how we deployed it. Can you try? And can your customers try?
So I think you hit on two of our key friction points. So one is I'm very anti-jargon. Right. I think up to this point there's been too much jargon and tech talk. So I think we're pushing, especially in the consumer space, talking about fans and rewards and membership and things that people understand and can gravitate to. So I think that's key. And the technology, I worked in the mobile industry a number of years ago, and when we were doing ringtones, which was an innovation that was brought about by technology, no one was talking about network capacity, et cetera, et cetera. So I think everything should work. Algorand's fantastic. I'm wearing the socks. But it shouldn't be obsessed, especially for the community that they're trying to onboard. So the benefits, they loved I was with a label in the UK a couple of weeks ago. They tried some projects, and the fan community rebelled because it wasn't green. And that the fans are very aware of something like that. So Algorand being carbon negative is a huge bonus. So I think there are some aspects that can be presented, ironically not always the technology aspect. So I think de-jargoning everything. And the second thing I think is around adoption. So Web3 gaming, the space, well, I came from gaming, has taken a huge amount of investment. So 4 billion last year, 10 billion this year, and Web3 music has only taken 400 million. So it's been an underinvested sector, and I think the number of projects in music, these companies have raised 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. It's kind of like small projects, so there hasn't been a trusted, kind of like large partner or trusted partner for the music industry and artists to get behind. So like one artist does this one artist does this one. So that's what we're hoping with Napster is we can bring, we've been working with the music industry for 20 plus years, $11 billion. We could be that trusted home for discoverability, because you don't want to unwind the good. There are some good parts to Web 2 in terms of discoverability. So I think having one place where all the projects can be discovered, listed, tagged, or whatever, to help, rising tide lifts all the ships, helps. So defrictioning, less jargon, and if I'm streaming a track from, a band that I love, Sad Night Dynamite, who's on Warner right now, if they then next year go off the label, and one of the tracks I'm streaming is from, their label days, that's being paid a certain way in the background, and maybe another track I'm streaming is on a smart contract in the blockchain. I shouldn't care as a user. That should all be hidden, and it should just be a delightful experience on the front end and fun and communal.
So I think kind of on that note, with the few minutes that we have left, maybe Jaden, you can start. Be interested in what your guys' perspectives are on how these things unfold. I think each of you is all working on effectively something that's a transition from Web 2 to Web 3, and what kind of the ideal state would be from your perspective at the end.
Well, I mean, friction is actually your friend, because friction allows you to find technology to be trailblazing enough that it causes the user to figure out a way in. You can't push people into new tech. They have to be pulled in. And the greatest driver is revenue stream, income. So what Web3 has going for itself in all different ways through NFTs, play to earn, music creation, art creation, is the ability to drive income and subsidy. So that's going to pull people in, and that automatically changes the dynamic of usability. Remember, when the PC came out, it wasn't very user-friendly. Nobody wanted it. So it wasn't just about usability. It's the application that is being utilized for that created the concept. Now, moving from Web 2 to Web 3, the components that we're bringing in, all of us collectively, is that what did the web do? The Web 1.0, Web 2.0, it took nodes. Humans are individual nodes that were disconnected. The web gave us connections with each of the nodes. And then Web 1, then Web 2, Web 3, the links between those nodes are solidifying further and further. And that's creating a synergistic effect, because as an example, you can have somebody in Southeast Asia who comes together with somebody in Kenya and create a new album song that we had never heard of, because those two people could not geographically be living at the same spot. So the totality component of humans being able to work together to facilitate the type of creativity that we can't yet imagine, but also that will empower and resonate the masses on a scale that we can't yet see.
That's great. And any last thoughts, Facundo?
No, I mean, we
I
are
guess
in
for
a
you
special
all-
moment. We really have a great opportunity to make the things better. I think if we are here, it's because we are all non-conformists. We really believe that things could be better. At this moment or in this time, we should do it as a community. That's
Right.
the most interesting part. The startup heroes like Mark Zuckerberg, and that's not the moment for that kind of people that monopolize and centralize the things. We should create things and help those things evolve in a community. we are happy to be part of the Algorand community. I'm looking forward to work with all of you guys and help at least our industry, the travel industry, evolve to Web3. And I hope Argentina win today. We have a tough match.
All right.
Yeah, his
Enjoy
mind
the
is in
game.
Argentina.
Enjoy the game. So
Come on, guys.
thank you guys all for joining today. This was great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, go Algorand.
Yeah.
Go.